Hey guys, Matt Jones in Sydney. Just a quick update on the art installation I finished yesterday and submitted. I want to tell you a quick story about the submission of that, and I want to tell that story under two headings. One is called Paint by Numbers, and the second one is a story about the institution. So let me start firstly, just a brief description about the artwork itself. It's the title is called I Require Assistance, and in that regard it takes its inspiration from the maritime signal flag for I Require Assistance, which is a red diagonal cross over white background. Now that is a statement of non-distress need. So the red diagonal cross over white also is the letter Victor, and the flags for the letter November and Charlie, when put together, is the distress signal flag. So the actual I Require Assistance in a distress circumstance is different to this red diagonal cross. And the work I did really reflects an earlier piece. It sort of expands on that I painted on canvas, a fairly large canvas, about 18 months ago, and that was exploring this theme of finding it difficult to ask for help, and that was useful doing that painting, because it really related back to something I've done recently, called the 10 City Bridge Run, where I ran a bunch of running in the interest of opening a conversation around child survival. Now this piece is not about that, but just to come back to that, really why that's relevant to mention here is that the earlier piece I painted tried to explore why I was reluctant to ask for help when I might have needed it in many respects. And then more recently, maybe about a month ago, or actually it was 1st of April, so it was almost immediately a month ago, I made an admission here on the video that I realised that I was grappling with some form of anxiety, and that was something I could pinpoint to saying that was largely responsible for me not being at my best over the last decade, which is a long time. And so this piece, I Require Assistance, really talks to that last 10 years. And more than that, it explores this dynamic of asking for help being received, that sort of community, whether it's just between two people, that's established in that process, and what happens going forward. It's interesting that the art was presented at a place in inner western Sydney. It's Cumberland, formerly Auburn, because it's quite a diverse area, and so this sentiment of I Require Assistance is, I guess quite prevalent everywhere, but particularly in an area with a high level of cultural, ethnic, educational diversity. There's going to be more reasons for needing assistance, needing help with simple things that many of us take for granted. So let's just put that aside for 1 minute. Also, just one thing about the title: it's I require help, not I request help. So requesting help is different. That's almost coming from a position of not so much authority, but a position of recognised, I guess, a recognised having a sort of an established position, if you like, from which you have the credentials to request something, to ask for people to step up. Very similar to that, but distinct, is this thing of requiring assistance, needing help, which is just a statement of fact. And saying that I require assistance and signalling it, knowing that you require assistance and signalling it are two different things. So I could have spoken and written and thought about this artwork, but that's why it was important to do it, to actually put it out there, to say, that's it. I require assistance. This might be clumsy. It might look terrible. You might not like it, but that's what I've come up with. So I think the important thing about saying you require assistance is you've got to say it. Maybe self-evident. Anyway, let's get back to the story. So I go to Cumberland Council, to the library, where the submissions were due to be completed before 4 p.m, which is when the library closes. And I'd been working on it over the last week, particularly this artwork, which is a tapestry, just to really get the story done, get it right in my head. And so yesterday in particular, I spent a lot of time finalising it. It wasn't a rush job at the end. It was just bringing the story together to the culmination of this piece. And so I get to the library. It's 3:55. Not 4 p.m, but very close. And the automatic doors that you can walk through are locked. They've decided no more comers, welcome. So I'm banging on the door and they're ignoring me on the inside. Someone comes out, so I'm able to go in, and the staff are sort of basically, go away, we're closed at 4 p.m. I say it's 3:56 or 3:55 or whatever time it is. And they're not satisfied. They're like, no, we're finished. We can't stay past 4. And I said, I've got something for the art prize. And they're saying, well, you better be quick. Go upstairs. So I had to go upstairs. And then there were two gentlemen. Let me just firstly say, all credit to the staff at Cumberland Council. They did a great job. And really thankful for their efforts. Really good that they're taking on many roles beyond just managing the library. So thank you to all the staff there. But I got up top of the stairs, and there's the staff from the library, and they're behind this desk, just doing administrative stuff. They're not there to specifically welcome the art prizes. And here comes some guy rocking in at 4:58, sort of saying, or 3:58, I've got this art prize to be submitted. So they say, oh look, no, we're closed. And I say, well, they say if it closed at 4 p.m, and I say, yeah, but it's not 4 p.m. yet. So I mean, at this point in time, it was a bit of a technicality, but here's the interesting thing. So in the end, they not so much relented, but they helped me out, and they accepted the work. But a couple of things were interesting in terms of the institution. That is, too often, I think when we require assistance, in this case, I'm talking about this issue about me and anxiety. But let's not look at me. Let's look generically in the community. If someone has an issue that they might need assistance from the broader community or something within an institutional framework, they might have the courage to put their hand up, but then they're met with an institutional response of, sorry, it's not done according to the process here or according to the rules, and so they luck out. I thought that was particularly ironic, given that I was submitting a work called I Require Assistance, as though I had to fight to try and get this submission called I Require Assistance accepted. And the even greater irony, which I sort of loved, and I don't have it here because I think it's in another bag, which with the cut off of tapestry of fabrics, which I've got somewhere else. But they gave me a receipt for the artwork, and so they had to write on the name, "I require assistance." So they're basically echoing the name of the work, "I require assistance," which I thought was somewhat delicious. Because they too are then taking on the statement that no one can hide from the reality that we all require assistance in that regard. For some people it comes very easily, not for me, which is why I've done this artwork. So that's the institution. I had an unexpected insight into dealing with the institution and the struggle that I've had with that in the past, which was valuable in terms of what this artwork means to me. So let's come back to this other thing about painting by numbers, this other story. And painting by numbers, my little artwork here. I'll put a little painting of it next to this clip. It's not. It might not be fantastic. It looks a bit. It's incomplete. Intentionally incomplete. But it's finished. I mean, I quite like it as it is. I think it's just as it should be right at the moment. But the point is, it's only for Cumberland. It's only for some local council. It's not significant. There's no one of note who will be mentioning it. It won't be in the great big articles of some art journal. And I think at that point we should recognise that, and we should also check ourselves if we start going down that path of questioning the value of something because of the status involved, or status that is not involved or the perceived status that is not involved with it. Because it's worth doing things for the sake of doing them. What I've learnt is we should do things because they bring joy to us or they're important to us. Whether they're accepted by the institution is not important. What the audience thinks of it is outside of our control. We must, and here when I say the we, I'm really referring to myself, but I'm projecting on all of us here. We've got to really embrace our responsibility to do the best we can with our own work. And this is part of my healing here, right? But the paint by numbers, the work is a bit rough. When someone looks at it, if they haven't got an explanation, they'll probably say, gee, we've been given a sort of a half-assed attempt to finish something. It doesn't look very polished. It's not, you could have trimmed up the edges. There's a few needles in there still. Shouldn't it be cleaner? Can't we have it like everything? I'm not saying that's what people necessarily will be thinking. Everyone will be thinking, but I can imagine some people might be happier to see something a little bit more digestible. But I'm bringing myself to the piece, and I think that particularly as we address issues that are important to ourselves, we should challenge the orthodoxy, particularly as it comes to the institution. So this is less a statement about art and more a statement about us in the community and society. And I think that's important when we're bringing important personal issues that need to be addressed, because often the things that are unspoken because of our own personal feelings of shame or fear of humiliation because of what we don't want to address we need to challenge the institution to say, I'm not going to buy into the limited options that you're presenting me with. I'm going to give you another one, and together we can find out how we're going to deal with this. That has to be a conversation of dialogue. Has to be constructive. It shouldn't be pugnacious. So the submission was valuable, and I'm left with this receipt that says I require assistance. Of course, what I'm going to ask of people now is to help me complete this piece. I want your submission onto the piece in the form of a swatch of fabric, red or white, in a square or triangle, a right angled triangle. I'll give you the dimensions a bit later. And Margot, a good friend, has suggested that people could write on the swatch maybe their name and maybe a short message of inspiration or some sort of message. And I think that's a great idea. I'm hoping I get enough of these swatches to actually cover the piece. I'm not going to go and solicit them necessarily, more than just letting people know I'm asking for them. And the point about it looking rough at the moment is that it's the draft, it's the blank, it's the background canvas upon which these other bits will be sewn. And so, like a lot of art, like Nolan or Indigenous art, the initial brushstrokes will be covered over by the final work. It's a bit long. Apologies for that, but I finished. No idea where it will go, but it's important that I did it. It's important that I submitted it. It doesn't matter if it's rejected. What we do is importantly matters. Thanks for listening.